Ladies and gentle tankers, welcome back to the WGL EU. And if you just joined us, I feel sorry for you. You missed a massive match, but more fantastic games to come. I'm the token Australian Mitch Leslie here with Oliver Maxfield. Mate, what an incredible game between No Mercy and Utopia. I can't stop talking about it.
Mate, if we had a good Polish matchup, that's the one you have to look at because it was absolutely insane. I think No Mercy got so close to beating Utopia, to be fair, being on form this season, but he just couldn't quite do it, and it was really summed up in that last round where Utopia just pulled out all the stops.
Absolutely insane. Hashtag MV Papa is going to be trending in no time, I'm sure of it. But we move on to our second exciting match of the day. One that we thought would definitely be headlining things. Now we're not so sure. But these two teams have definitely been around for quite some time, and they are no strangers to going head-to-head. Kazna Crew going up against PENTA Sports. Two teams that have had interesting sort of performances so far. I mean, PENTA a little bit up and down. They've already played 4 games, mind you, so they had an extra one this week because of an earlier reschedule. What are your thoughts? PENTA sitting 2-2, Kazna 2-1.
I think Kazna Crew have shown up this season at the beginning, which they didn't do last season. They struggled at the beginning, and that's a good thing. They know they need to be more consistent throughout the season to be able to get into a position where they can actually qualify for those offline finals, not by the skin of their teeth. I think PENTA, as you mentioned, 2 for 2, 2 wins, 2 losses. I don't know. They showed some questionable results. Of course, they picked themselves up against ASAP on Tuesday with a 5-1 victory. But I don't know. PENTA's looking a little bit shaky. I hope they've got confidence against Kazna here. Yeah,
I mean, you know, and PENTA, to be honest, varying results. Have to see how that sort of pans out. Yeah. And I'm interested also to see how that pans out in terms of the votes that are coming through as well, of course. Both of these teams have massive fan bases. Where are our fans sort of leaning towards?
To start off with, they're playing the safe bet, which is your Kazna Crews, of course. Everyone knows these guys. They're the household name, so everyone's going for the Kazna Crew vote, around 68%. But it is still early in the day. We know these votes can change. They seem to even up as the day goes on. But you guys, get on Facebook right now, go over to the WGL EU page and get your votes in. Simple as that. Tell us your favorite matchup as well. All that feedback comes towards us. And also get over to Twitter. We've been getting some incredible tweets about what Papa was able to achieve. That hashtag MVP Papa is now a thing. It's official. It's happened. So thank you guys for that. And if you do want to get a chance to win some gold for yourself, get over to Twitter right now. Use the hashtag WGLEU and let us know your thoughts on the next matchup coming, which will be PENTA against Kazna. So there's a lot to write about there.
Absolutely. Already seeing a lot coming through with the hashtag WGLEU as well. So it's good to have you guys join the conversation with us. But this match as well, people are watching with bated breath to see who's going to come out on top. Kazna Crew has, for quite some time, had a huge following. They're a big clan as well, of course, in Europe. Very, very big, in fact. They've got multiple sort of offshoots from people from many different countries. I heard someone saying Kazna Crew, best clan Poland. So they've got their followers as well. And PENTA are a team who, they made it to the Season 5 finals. Okay, they were present in physical form maybe, but not a whole lot else.
Yeah, they went into the first day. They had a really bumpy ride, you know, losing against Wusa, really struggling, and then they did actually finally get shot out of the finals via Kazna Crew with a 5-4 victory. It was very close in the end. A few mistakes by PENTA cost them the game, and that was actually the last time they faced each other. So at the moment, I think PENTA Sports has a chip on their shoulder against Kazna.
A grudge match if I've ever seen one. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to kick it off with Kazna Crew attacking from the north and PENTA defending from the south.
So we're back onto Lakeville. Super strange that we're starting to see Lakeville featured. Maybe the teams have gone for the tried and tested maps and now resorting to some special tactics on the ones we haven't seen so much this season. So pretty aggressive by Kazna into the city straight away, trying to get those early spots using the 390 view range of that T21, you know, the most view range of a tier 6. It's an absolute beast, spotting out where PENTA Sports are going, and they look like they want to go for a kind of flank around to try and get those engagements with the heavy tanks and get control of that eastern side, because they don't have the fastest lineup. Yes, they got a few T54s, but it's going to struggle against the might of the AMX 1390.
So we saw FKK Snitchel there in the T21 pushing up, waiting for his optics to sort of kick over. And then Kazna Crew had a bunch of shots towards PENTA Sports, but I don't even know if they were really spotted there because no damage was sustained at all by the boys in blue this far. You can see Kazna Crew now moving up. Tell you what, Isne and Alien, two massive players for Kazna Crew. Hyber as well has been really important. Most of their team are moving straight through. Maybe they sense that Penta a little bit weaker over towards the cap, and they're going to rain the shots in towards Hacky. Blame Hacky is pretty well known around these parts, and he's already taken a fair bit of damage to start things off. And Kazna Crew set up in a line and start the shooting gallery.
But Hacky took some damage. We remember Hyber took some damage as well. So it was actually a pretty even exchange for both teams. The thing is, most teams now in Penta's position just flank around through that valley side to the west and try and come from behind. I think that could work out because Kazna Crew haven't got any tanks to defend that backside. But then again, you know, if they get the overmatch, it could also go very badly for them. So I think, you know, just sending New Multishow from behind, a good call by Penta there. He's been a pretty good player. I mean, not up to the dead zone, who, you know, has been finally, you know, fulfilling his destiny as one of the top players in Europe. But still a good player nonetheless.
Alien at the 4 here in the IS-3, yet untouched, and Neurofish is just trying to provide a little bit of support in that AMX 5100. Now, Penta have had time to recall some of those forces they initially sent in towards the valley, and they can set up here towards the south, but over towards the north. FKK Stencil being kept back to try and deal with New Multishow. The AMX 3090 having to back away after sustaining 2 hits from the German.
This is what I love about the T21. You know, the rate of fire of those tier 6s can really start to punish the tier 8s even. You know, the ones with not very much hit points, the ones with not very much armor, it just slices through them. And the AMX 3090's accuracy and aim down time is a really big factor at those ranges. You know, as soon as you get past 80, 90, 100 meters, you just start missing those shells. So now I see Kazna Crew a little bit stuck, you know, not really sure what to do. They can see that the Killer Pit and Hacky combination is, you know, keeping an eye on that eastern cap down there. And really, they can't flank around because New Multishow has the presence of the AMX 1390. So Kazna now trying that third angle, putting the T-54s in the middle.
Alien knows that IS-3 better than the back of his own hand. He's bounced enough shots as well, but a few are starting to come towards the team of Kazna here. Penta Sports have a decent setup for most of their tanks to actually be able to have shots against these guys. LD Nex is forced to back away from a shot towards him, and there come the shots from the middle of the map. Awesome positioning here for Kazna Crew to put those lightweights there. Killer Pit forced to back up. Hacky gets hammered, and he gets tracked as well. He's forced to repair that real quick, and he's going to have to come up forward and just try and huddle close to Killer Pit here. It's dangerous times for those two IS-3s. Kazna Crew have managed to isolate those two from the rest of their team.
Now you can see Penta immediately starting to react to that with the AMX 1390 and T-54, but still they have to deal with FKK Schnitzel and that T-21 before they can move on with the trouble with those T-54s in the middle.
Raven HR and New Multishow are going to have to commit to this one. They really just need to get rid of this T-21. FKK Schnitzel uncharacteristically missed the shot, almost dies to a ram, but he's going to hang around for just a bit longer. Enough time perhaps for Kazna Crew to get a bit of a word on what is up, but they're responding to this. Here's the push as well. There's 54 lightweights coming in from the middle of the map. Floki got deleted, and now Vetso's going to chase on towards the dead zone. There are a lot of tanks looking towards that guy, and he's going to have to try and get behind those tanks for at least a little bit of protection, but Vetso is going to bully him straight out of there. You don't mess with that guy when he's got you in his sights, and that 1v1 will surely go in the way of Vetso. Kazna Crew up by quite a bit of health points as well.
Vetso's the third best player in terms of all-round ability right now in the league at this point in time, so he's a fantastic player. Now you can see that Kazna Crew are quite substantially ahead. They just need to start taking down those tanks as Vetso does find the dead zone.
Oh, New Multishow really just getting wrecked there. Raven messaged the last two standing. Shots ringing in from Eurofish as well from near towards the cap, and that 5100 preventing Raven from really leaving that position at all. He's damned if he does, and he's damned if he doesn't right now as the base capture continues to tick up. Messig as well, a long way from any real assistance. His goal, his role as well, is to try and get those resets without getting jumped on. But Kazna Crew, I mean, Kazna means punishment. They are the punishment crew, and they want to do just that towards Raven right now. LD Nexus and Vetso careening towards him at speed in those 54 lightweights, and they will send that Raven packing message all on his lonesome.
Yeah, Messig, one of the star players for Penta, left on his own to try and deal with, what, 5 players of Kazna Crew, if I can count now. Not much he can do. Kazna about 5k of points in front. Also, the cap tiner does hit 0, so will be 1-0 for Kazna on the attack on Lakeville.
Brilliant work from Kazna there as well. We've seen some teams already today having some issues with the attacking side on Lakeville, knowing about how to approach things, trying to sort of reposition themselves and go for a little bit of a different approach. This time, Kazna really stuck to their guns. They sent the brunt of their force up and they still had those lightweights for flexibility.
Exactly. I think the lineup was on point. I think they didn't mess about with anything. You know, Kazna have been one of the forerunners in the LTTB game, but they didn't go for that, and I think the T54s worked out for them very well. Now, one thing we saw from Kazna Crew, which we haven't seen from many attacking teams, is just they were so aggressive. A lot of the attacking teams have just been sitting back a little bit, you're not being so aggressive going forward, but Kazna straight in, getting those positions on that eastern side, getting Hacky and Killerpit locked down in the IS-3s, making sure they can't move, get the control in the middle with the T54s, and that's where they won it. They killed the IS-3s, and Penta tried to react to that, to be fair to them, to give them credit, but they needed to control that middle area, and they just simply didn't have that.
I love the way they played this as well. They'd always left those 54 lightweights back as a bit of a contingency. The amount of flexibility you get from those in the middle of the map is incredible, and this is where Killerpit and Hacky start to become endangered species. You can see those 54 lightweights just put 2 in towards Killerpit, and all of a sudden, those 2 IS-3s, the real main bastion of strength from Penta Sports, are just struggling.
Penta should have had their MX-3090 and double T54 in the middle of that green road to the west. So they could immediately head downhill, take out FKK Schnitzel and get control of that middle area, but they didn't. They had them all in the base, apart from new multi-show and that MX-1390. So I think Penta, again, didn't expect Kazna Crew to be so fast, didn't expect them to actually go in with everything at the right at the beginning of the match, and I think that's where they fell down in the end. But all credit to Kazna Crew. Didn't mess about, you know, they saw what they wanted, they played for the middle area, no kind of ingenious tactic, but just enough to win.
Absolutely, and Veko here coming up, just pushing on Dead Zone. Dead Zone actually got tracked as he came off the hill. That's just how keen he was to try and get away from Vetso coming forward now. Croatian, man, definitely knows how to scare his opponents. And you can see there, especially over the rest of the map, there was a response coming in from New Multi-Show. As soon as Kazna realized that 1390 was sort of flexing towards the middle road, they pushed off with the 54 lightweights. Lauren, Kazna Crew, the safe vote. It's safe to say that that's been a good prediction by our viewers.
Yeah, and it's only going up as well. The vote currently has actually increased to 74% in their favor, so it does start to build into their sort of presence. However, outside of that, the questions are coming in. I think seeing new maps and new tanks has kind of opened the floodgates. It was Mark saying, why is it so rarely we see tank destroyers, or especially medium tanks in these competitive games? Is this a common trend, or could that change?
I think with competitive World of Tanks, I say this time and time again, you have 2 types. You have basically the ones that play one thing very well, and then you have the other ones which play everything to a decent standard. Now, medium tanks, they were featured in competitive World of Tanks for a long time. I mean, we still see the Pershing, we still see the Object 416, but the T-54 lightweight is just so good against those tier 8s. I mean, they basically are a medium tank in terms of firepower. Tank destroyers, I think they're just too easy flanked, and yeah, we have seen on the North American server with the Jag Tigers, the 8.8, but not that much.
All right, we're going to jump into this one, and already we've seen a massive engagement there close to the river road, and these tanks, it was an aggressive initial push. Kazna Crew kind of winning out in the one. They actually lost the tank early on, which happened off screen, but Killerpit will also go down in response here. What a chaotic start to this game. Yeah,
you got the double LTTBs from the Penta, so maybe they're trying to give Kazna Crew a taste of their own medicine, and I think it's going to work out for them. The thing is, Penta are kind of stretched thin over towards the right side, but I actually like this. I'm going to really see what those LTTBs can do. They're pushing into the middle, so if Kazna peak, they can just get the shots on time and time again. And, you know, Kazna just need to find a way through this. They need to find a way into this game. And you can see Hyber's going to try and make that happen up north.
You can see those shots already ringing through via the traces from the middle of the map. Those 2 LTTBs trying to make their presence known here now. And you can see the setup here for Penta Sports. They've got a new multi-show there, Message and the Dead Zone, watching all 3 of those roads respectively, while Kazna have set up over towards this church in the middle here. So Kazna are going to have to fight their way out of this one here. Penta trying to draw a net over them, and Hacky and Raven are just going to be an annoyance from the middle of the map.
Yeah, Hyber's in a great position, though, to actually shoot those 2 LTTBs. But still, 2 versus 1, I mean, even 1 versus 1, an LTTB stands a chance. So Hacky and Raven spotted him out, they're just going to go for him, and Penta needs to keep the rest of them safe.
Hyber lit. I think Hacky actually was set on fire for a brief moment before his extinguisher kicked in. We saw that extra tick of damage, but they're missing these shots. Raven, HR, and Hacky are not doing their job. Hyber is still alive. There's been 3 shots, make that 4 towards him, that he has not taken any damage at all from, and that is just bad news for Penta Sports. It's not working out for them right now. Hyber is able to just duel them. He can actually actually taken both on right now, and over the rest of the map, Kazna Crew opted to go for that one, or the 3v1 against the multi-show here, and they might be able to try and break out of this pincer maneuver here. Eurofish ducks around, does take a hit, puts one in towards Fluky, takes one in response as well. Easley is up in front, takes a hit himself, takes two. This could get really messy. Kazna Crew don't have the overmatch here, and they're going in, guns blazing into a situation that really doesn't benefit them here. Nexus did pick up message though. The shots coming in from the periphery are really what's keeping Kazna Crew in this.
But there's so much little hit points for PENTA Sports, 3.7k for Kazna Crew, and yes, they've taken a lot of damage, and yes, it's 4 versus 4, but Kazna just need to go forwards and take these tanks down.
Fluky's a one-shot. Veko takes 2 hits at the cost of trying to push out to get him, but now the dead zone. He's going to get jumped on. Raven HR was the only of the LTB TTBs that are left, and look at Hyber. He's been there the whole round. He's hung on, and he's got to be able to pick up Raven as well. You said you wanted to see how those LTTBs worked. Not great.
Not very well indeed. I think you could see the logic there from PENTA. They just thought they could go 2 versus 1, but the amount of damage they took before they could get into that situation was just uncompromising. They just simply couldn't do anything after that point. And, you know, Hacky getting set on fire didn't help. Hyber in that great position behind that building where he had the 2 rocks to his right and he could run away to his left. So great positioning by Hyber. I mean, the man always can, you know, step up for his team and work very well. And then you had the engagement in the middle where PENTA just seems to take a lot of damage around the corners with a slightly light lineup, and it just didn't go very well. But I think it was won and lost when the 2 LTTPs went for Hyber. They could have stayed where they were. They could have gone into the middle and actually helped the rest of their team in that engagement.
I think PENTA overestimated actually, the degree to which Kazna Crew had committed to that city. Yeah. Because those 2 LTTBs pushed off the middle of the map before they were even shot. Actually, by Hyber, they'd taken a truckload of damage. You see, Hyber is just to sustain the 1 hit. Look how low they were on the map. Raven down to 460, Hacky down to 224. They're not durable tanks. And Kazna actually had a good spread over the city as this fight sort of starts to develop, to have already struck a killing blow to PENTA before they took the fight to Kazna.
You can see here, you got 2 IS3s from Kazna Crew and a 5100, and you got 3 TFT4s and an AMX 5100 from PENTA, who's now on reload. So immediately you can see the discrepancy and the overmatch Kazna Crew has in terms of damage, and also the fact that, you know, Kazna could shoot from the city onto those 2 LTTPs will also help them a lot. So I think PENTA could have won now, and not easily, but I think it was their game to win. They had all the cards. But I think Kazna Crew, they just fought their corner and managed to come out with the win.
The fact that LD and Nexus could riddle most of the guys from PENTA with shots before he was even touched is really telling. That Kazna did well. They maybe gave off the impression that they had concentrated all their tanks in the middle of the city, but they had the tanks back out towards, you know, the back or the north side of the city, shots towards the middle, shots towards any of the tanks that PENTA that were sort of caught out of position, and it just took them out. And you've got to love this about Kazna Crew as well. They feign this aggressive, they feign this really one-track minded mentality, but in reality, it's really well thought through. Hyber is not a rash man. Nope. He really puts work into his strategies there, and they caught PENTA off guard. PENTA were confident. They said, oh, we've got him here, boys. And then they just got wrecked.
But the thing is, you've seen this tactic from Team Supreme before in exactly the same position by Hyber, and a similar situation happening, well, exactly the same situation happening. Even though the 2 LTTPs of No Mercy managed to get to, I think it was Apwell playing that position at T54, still they got taken out and they couldn't do much in that situation. So again, I think if PENTA wanted to win that, either control that middle area, control that middle road, or just have those LTTPs to help you, for instance, take down LD Nexus, who can make those peaks around the corner in the T54s whenever you wanted to. But, you know, 2 attacking rounds now down the drain here for 2 defending rounds down the drain for PENTA. 2 solid attacking rounds from Kazna Crew. They're looking pretty good.
And Kazna, like, historically, have always been stronger as a defensive team, all right? The Ruinberg play last week against ASAP, they went 2-2, and the defensive side was arguably the stronger one. So let's see now if they're going to continue to move forward in leaps and bounds, or if PENTA can stop them in their tracks. Kazna obviously in the red from the south defending. PENTA blue on the attack.
So we just had a tweet saying why there are no medium tanks featured in the lineups. Well, yeah, I've got a 416 now, played by Elian, I do believe. So we can see how well that one works out. Of course, 320 damage. Only real disadvantage of that tank is you only have an 85 degrees traverse from left to right. So you can't actually deal with someone who flanks all the way around you, kind of like a tank destroyer. But still, the M63 is just unbelievable gun. So Kazna going for the damage. They're trying to make this one quick. They got control of that middle area. And PENTA, you know, going for that classic T54 stack over towards the west.
All right, this is interesting here because Kazna's setup kind of indicates that they're maybe not really expecting a push from this far out. I mean, it'd be FKK Schnitzel and the T21 to spot out this strike force of 54 lightweights, but Kazna are well and truly dug in towards the city, and it's almost as if New Multi-Show was left there to bait them in. Look at all those shots going towards FKK Schnitzel, and he manages to dodge every single one of them. Well, to be honest, it was more that PENTA missed them. Nonetheless, a T21's going to get out unscathed for the moment at least.
So you've got the FKK Schnitzel and maybe a couple of the T54s who can actually get the resets here, but you'll see Kazna crew pushing onto this AMX 5100 because he is alone.
All right, Eurofish trying to take the battle to him as well. The T32 of Yuzna is going to get involved. Eurofish taking a fair bit of damage considering this is a 2v1. He probably doesn't want to be taking too much more at this rate. New Multi-Show still has plenty of shells to use, and Eurofish didn't take the opportunity to poke out towards him after he had missed his shot. Maybe he's actually run out, I'm not sure. But the base capture has begun. Have Kazna got the tanks in place to really make this work?
I think New Multi-Show did a very good job of keeping the team at bay. I think they do have enough time. I'm not sure if Kazna can get the reset in time on this one. You could see Nexus, if he does actually crest that hill, he might just be that one to do it though.
Alien copying quite a few shots there. Very forward position for a 4-1-6. Usually you see him sit back on a hill and try and cover, but he's still putting damage over towards Raven, and Nexus now is going to be joining the fray, but the base capture is ticking down. There are a lot of tanks on that camp, and Kazna crew is forced to come forward to try and lay down their own brand of punishment, and they've got the reset, but as quick as it stopped, it's now started to tick back up, and they don't have the piece of FKK Schnitzel to move up in that T21 and stop it. But there's a great shot from LD Nexus to prolong this one a little bit more.
Raven actually got distracted there, and FKK Schnitzel came in, took his opportunity, and managed to reset.
Really nice work. Vetso a one-shot to Raven, and he will pick that one up. Only now a Kazna crew's takes to moving up, and the capture was completely reset. I don't know if that was a failed maneuver, because they didn't all take damage at the same time, so I don't know what happened, but either way, ticking down. 42 seconds. The shots are coming back and forth. Kazna crew with the advantage in health now. PENTA Sports, it seems like their plan B is non-existent, and they just have to brawl it out.
Again, you know, FKK Schnitzel making all the plays, making it happen, getting the timing on point, but still now, you got basically 4 heavy tanks, well, 3 heavy tanks, 1 T54 lightweight on pretty healthy amount of hit points, and just 2 T54s left for PENTA Sports. You'll see Kazna now regroup, push forwards, and look to finish this one off.
PENTA moving off the cap. They're not even bothering with it at this stage. Isne, he was in the perfect place to be in a T32. He was on the lower side of a sloped area, a hill, and he was able to get those resetting shots up with that T32. And now, Kazna are going to push up. PENTA not even trying to create pressure by sitting on that cap. They're afraid of Kazna coming to try and retake it. And here comes that push. Kazna crew just setting up. This is our house, they're saying. And they're going to take the fight straight towards PENTA. Look at that damage. It's just not going to be enough really for PENTA. They're going to get crushed, I think, at this stage. Haki will get Eurofish there. That's the 5100 off the map, but Fluky very, very low. Haki quite low as well, and that is done and dusted. Kazna crew got to bring this one back. It's probably the closest we've seen PENTA to actually getting a win here, but they have again faltered.
Yeah, two big points there for me. First of all, I think New Multi-Show being so far forwards into the city was a mistake. I'm not sure why they picked artillery there. It basically did nothing that whole round. Maybe they were whole round. Maybe they're considering, oh, maybe Kazna crew's going to be on that western side with all the tanks. Seeing, you know, they got so much T54s, they're going to be defending it. We can get some cheeky shots with the M44. Didn't happen that way, so basically New Multi-Show went down for nothing. Maybe he actually, you know, gave them 10 seconds more time to actually get the capping on the way. But I think it was won and lost when FKK Schnitzel made a shell against the T54s, connected it, penetrated it, and got the reset.
Let's have a look at this initial push in towards the valley, because that's where definitely things started off. A lot of blue traces and no damage done to FKK Schnitzel as well. Yes, your tanks are less accurate when they're on the move, but these are full crews. They've got, you know, like the smooth rotation and all that sort of thing. They have, you know, the abilities to connect those, and they've just missed him. And this is where the push went on towards New Multi-Show, which obviously we talked about just now. It was a 2v1. New Multi-Show, to be fair, did good damage. He's always been famed for his 5100 play, but he was left out as a decoy or a flanking tank. It really wasn't pretty for PENTA at all. The first stages of that match as well, we saw poor positioning from New Multi-Show, poor shooting from their 54 lightweights, and it really just went from bad to worse. Yeah,
they made a good tactical play, went forwards, were aggressive, but you can see here now FKK Schnitzel's down to 1 shot. First of all, they didn't go for Alien, which is okay. I mean, Eurofish could actually connect onto Messi and Raven, but look, FKK Schnitzel comes around the corner, he made one shell there, and it's reset, and it's back to 10 seconds again. So, I don't know, back and forwards a lot for PENTA, but I think at the end of the day, it was a little bit obvious. I think their choice of artillery was very situational, and it just, you know, kind of evaporated at the end of that match.
I really think they lost their nerve at one point as well, because they were on the cap. They still had 3 tanks sitting on the cap, and this was before Kazna had really managed to push their players up past that little building we were seeing that Vetso was sort of fighting around. And all of a sudden, the cap just disappeared. Yeah,
they just reversed.
And I don't understand. Well, I don't really understand it, because it was fairly close. Pressure was still being applied, and that's where teams are making mistakes. That's where you're sort of, you know, that's where you're fluffing your shots. The only way you would see the cap be reset by that margin straight away is if all the tanks got shot at once. So I don't really understand what happened there. But now, Lauren, the votes are, you know, all starting to make a bit more sense. I mean, everyone's getting behind Kazna. It's kind of hard to really fault them now at 3-0.
Yeah, it's up to 75% now from where it started around 68, but that's no surprise. It's Kazna crew. But the questions were coming in. It's Imprez, one of the guys who's often in chat, often tweeting through to us. Yeah, and he was asking, basically, this game is going to have a huge influence towards the end of the season. But he expected that PENTA could be in the top 6. Seeing their performance on this map, does this mean it's a weak map for them or a weak team currently?
I think it's a bit of both. I think PENTA have been super shaky. They did well at the beginning of the season against Strong CMO with a 5-1 victory. Then they did the same against ASAP recently on Tuesday. But then when they played Supreme and Utopia,
where'd it go?
I don't know. They were just kind of shaky and they got caught out a lot. They more playing that style against Supreme than Utopia than they are the kind of style they play against ASAP. So I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah. So guys at home, if you need any more questions answered, head over to Twitter right now. Use that hashtag WGLEU and get your thoughts through to us here in the studios. That's how you get gold. And of course, if you want to get your votes through as well, head over to Facebook to go towards the same URL followed by WGLEU. It's all very simple, all very easy. And Mitch, if you were going to put a vote in, where would you go?
It's hard to go past Kazna, right? Really, I'm not going to. I'm not going to be that guy that sort of puts his vote on the underdog here. PENTA have shown good results against, you know, lower teams and bad results against upper ones, so it's hard to argue with that. And also, thanks to Imprez for getting in touch. It's always been good to have a chat with him on Twitter as well. And he actually, his video he did for the World Finals, like how his road to the World Finals. Brilliant work. Keep it coming, mate. But we're going to jump into this next map here. Kazna crew are 1 round away from taking a clean sweep here. They're on defense. Will they sit back and wait for PENTA, or will they go for the throat?
I think they're just going to go for the throat. They have no reason not to. If Kazna can get into a firefight situation, they can win that every single day of the week. But no, they actually go into the western side, setting up for a defensive lineup. Again, you know, PENTA, we've said this time and time again, with all the T54s they usually pick and the LTTBs, I don't know. I think they need to go for something a little bit more, you know, kind of buckled down in the IS-3s, 5100s. And I think an artillery wouldn't go amiss here. But they are pushing, they are going forwards. Eurofish and Nexus are waiting to accept.
All right, so Kazna now with a chance to set up here. Last round it was a bit of a different story for them, of course, and Kazna are that team that knows how to set up. They know how to wait for a team to push into them here, so they're going to do just that. But look at this position from Eurofish and LD Nexus. We haven't seen this before, and they're setting up to try and catch PENTA off guard. They've only got 2 tanks there, but as PENTA push up to try and take them head-to-head, Kazna will have the side shots. This is incredible. What a great play from them now. Eurofish is going to get the shots out, but the proof is going to be in the pudding. Will this work?
I don't know. Eurofish is not really doing that much damage, and the 2 T54s are absolutely destroying him.
Oh, Eurofish, I mean, a bit of innovation goes a long way here, but there's a lot of terrain features to protect PENTA as they go for this push. That being said, health points still in the balance. Nexus is still standing. We'll get 1 more shot, not quite. But Fluky does take 1 as well. Kazna lose 2 tanks for that. It's a very close margin in terms of health points, but now they have PENTA out in the open for at least a moment here. You can see they're scrabbling to try and find their positions to get back in their spots and be more defensive, but Kazna crew have done quite a lot of work towards them, and they've traded 2 for 2 here.
But look, PENTA pushing forwards. They don't want to stop this one. They just want to take down Hyber.
Hyber's going to be surrounded by angry PENTA players right now, and he will drop fairly quickly. FKK Schnitzel trying to do some work on towards New Multi show, and he gets the job done reasonably well, to be fair. New Multi is a bit low, but Kazna crew are down to 3 tanks. The health points are still close, but it's guns in the game, like you say, Oliver, is often the most important thing. Let's see if Kazna can surmount this sort of assumption. As he easily gets chunked down, 575 shaved off his health. He will drop down as well, and it's just Ilian and Vetso, the last 2 standing. I like Kazna trying something different, but it doesn't look like it's worked out for them here.
An angry PENTA just pushing forwards like a tidal wave. Nothing can stop them. They've done great work here against Kazna crew. And Ilian, Vetso, 2-star players for me, just left alone, even with hitting 2k hit points. Ilian and Vetso have a lot of work to do.
PENTA have to set up here. If they're not careful about the way they push on towards this cap, Vetso and Alien can take him out. As you said, the gun on the 416 is phenomenal. And you can see PENTA, instead of trying to push up real close, are opting for that Eastern cap and not getting too close to Kazna crew right now, because we've got two of the best players in the league right now still alive on Kazna crew. Alien, of course, I mean, probably one of the best player in Poland right now. Vetso is incredible in his own right. But now Killerpit throwing the stick in the spokes right here. This is great positioning from him. Alien's going to spray that one God knows where. It wasn't even a bounce. It was more of a reactive shot here. As Killerpit is in the perfect position to stop this push from Kazna, and they're going to lose all those health points that they had sort of kept in the race with pretty much immediately. Vetso trying to push over. Alien trying to do something, anything. God help us, anything. But I think PENTA have the numbers right now, and they're going to make it very hard.
It's going to be really hard now for Kazna crew to reset. Killerpit just has the number of Alien and Vetso. They can't go anywhere. Even could be one shot if they don't be careful. 5 seconds left on the cap.
Killerpit going to put one into the back of Vetso, and it's going to be tough for Kazna crew. In fact, they're pretty much done here. Vetso, if he crests that hill, he's going to get shot. They know where he is. Great shot towards Message, though. Alien going to keep this one alive for just a bit longer. Now Raven is the only man on the cap, so that cap, not only was it reduced, is going to tick down that little bit slower. Vetso trying to shoot towards Killerpit. New Multi-Show says, I've had enough of this business. Let's finish it here. Alien picked up Killerpit. It's a 2v1. New Multi-Show, 3 in the chamber still. It's going to miss one, down towards 2, but Raven, will finish the job. PENTA get that game back. It's one round. I mean, they're going to need a few more than that, but it's a good start.
You can see the individual player skill of Kazna crew kept them in the game for quite a long time, but at the end of the day, you know, nothing could stop PENTA pushing forwards. And I have to say, Eurofish in that AMX 5100 did pretty much nothing there. He did like 600 damage maybe. PENTA just pushed in. The thing is, there's like a mountain there to the side. So if you actually just go all in, no one can support you. No one could do anything there, and he was just basically a tier 8 tank down for nothing.
So we understand the idea of what Kazna are trying to do there, of course. Put those 2 tanks up the top, and they could fire across. Like in the,
but for just one shell. They could make one shell on the cross, and that was it. And then when they had to retreat, when PENTA had to retreat, then they could get another shell. And they did get FKK. They did get one tank from PENTA down. I'm not sure who it was exactly. I think it was a dead zone. I think he fell, but still it wasn't enough. They still had the hit point advantage, have the more guns in the game, and they just pushed forwards and managed to take care of Vetso and Alien.
See, I feel like that strat, while maybe ostensibly didn't work out famously, Kazna still traded 2 and 2. They still got 2 tanks amongst all the kerfuffle, because after those 2 tanks went down, PENTA had to sort of reposition themselves. Hyber was pushed up so far forward, though. Gun depression on those weights isn't great. Maybe he wanted to have the shot, but he just got jumped on. It was like 1 by 1 by 1. These overmatches happen. So Kazna, just bad positioning maybe?
I think Hyber wanted to push forwards because he didn't expect PENTA to be so aggressive, which is fair enough because I've always had PENTA as being one of the more slow and passive teams. So Hyber was in a position where he could just shoot the side of PENTA constantly. But PENTA didn't wait around. They just pushed off the hill, took care of Hyber within a few seconds. No bounces, no messing around, and then just pushed on from there. And it was pretty easy work. But yeah, I think PENTA, it's good to see them going aggressive. I think it's been one of their weaknesses in the past.
Lauren, I mean, for a viewer, even for us casters, tactically, it's been a bit of a clinic, a bit of a masterclass here. As before we head into the break, what are your thoughts, and how are people responding to some of these interesting plays we're seeing?
You know, it's quite funny. People just seem to spot out just individuals, don't they? It's all the time. It's like, oh, it's going to be the fluky hype coming in if I want to get Twitch chat to spam, or, you know, it's Vetso, and these guys go crazy for them. But sometimes, every now and then, they'll see the beauty of the tactic, and everyone going, oh my god. And we saw it a couple of times in the previous games. It looks like Lakeville is giving us some really tactically ingenious matches. But a question from me to you then, how long until teams take that as standard and it comes down to more of a player skill map? Because we saw before, you could do not necessarily cheesy strategies, but strats that people wouldn't know because it's not been played enough. How long until that kind of dissipates?
I think that's, as you mentioned, always a common factor on new maps. There's a lot of things we haven't seen, only in the training battles between the teams that we've really seen it. I think Lakeville's always tactically interesting because of the two cap dynamic now, where it was only 1 cap before. But I think we will see more standardized tactics, and it always does come down to player skill, because we don't get to see all 7 players on one team, all 7 players in the other team's first-person perspective. So we can't see that missed shot there. We can't see that brilliant shot on the cross there. So yeah, I think player skill is very undervalued in many respects.
Well, if you agree with Ollie, let us know your thoughts. When do you think maybe that tactical ingenious side maybe overbeared by the individual players starting to shine and understand all those nuances? Let us know on Twitter using that hashtag WGLEU. Head over to Facebook and get your votes through to us using the same URL following that / with WGLEU. EU2. So, all very simple. And if you guys like this game so far, make sure you stay tuned because we're going to do a very short break, and then we'll be back with the next map.
Welcome back to the WGL EU, and we are here getting towards the pointy end of things in this game between Kazna Crew and, of course, their rivals over some time. It's PENTA Sports, and it's a 3-1 scoreline in favour of Kazna right now. Yeah,
they're looking like the better team. A lot of interesting plays from them, very aggressive. Don't seem to want to mess around at all. Just keep PENTA guessing, keep them on their feet. But we did see some glimpse of brilliance from PENTA with a very harsh movement onto Hyber, some very reactive play from them onto Eurofish, which did secure them that last round on Lakeville.
That's right. So Lakeville, of course, was a 3-1 over to Kazna, and it was good. I think their attacking side, the way it worked so well, was what really is going to give them a leg up now into this next map. It's going to be Ruenberg.
Yep.
Ruenberg. Now, Kazna Crew last time they played against ASAP, their defense was stellar. Can't fault them for that one.
Yep.
The attack was not. They tried something a little bit different using Eastney and an IS-3,
yes,
sort of just on that boundary between the city and the field, set himself up in a window,
yep.
And it wasn't pretty for them. They lost both attacking rounds there. But if they start on defense here, all they need is those two defensive rounds to win the game.
Yeah, and this is the interesting thing. PENTA, last time they played on Ruenberg, they actually won against ASAP both attacking rounds. So you got a team where you got one team loses both times on the attack and the other team wins both times on the attack against the same team.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to open the book on Ruenberg.
Ruenberg, a mixed-type map. The defending team starts the battle on the green, and the attacking team starts at the central square of the town. Bases are located quite far from each other. Both bases are better controlled from the village. It's better to attack the first base through the top direction with the help of several well-armoured heavy tanks. For the attack on the second base, it's better to use a more mobile setup and either play through the centre or split forces. In general, the map is not easy to play on. Teams often use blind shots and risky shifting of the forces from one flank to another.
ASAP on this map last time they played it. Let's see if they can make amends for that and take it to Kazna Crew. Kazna in the red on the attack, PENTA in the blue defending. Oh, yeah, other way around.
Other way around, indeed. But anyway, I mean, you got PENTA kind of spreading out a little bit on the map, and you know, really, we see how they can actually go on to try and put some damage onto Kazna. As I said, you know, they did very good job against ASAP on the attack. They do have that opportunity now against Kazna Crew as well. And last time, they were very aggressive up into that northern, into the middle road with the IS-3s, and then they flanked around to the east side with the AMX 1390s.
And just a quick correction actually coming through here. PENTA have actually had a good record on Ruenberg. It hasn't been shaky at all. Excuse, most probably my writing is hard to read here. So let's see, these two teams that are well tested and proved themselves on this map. And as you said, PENTA now going to be working their way out towards that. It's the traditional rollout here for this team, but it's slower. It's a little bit further into the round, and Kazna Crew have already set up to receive this.
Yeah, so we saw PENTA going forwards, trying to get some spots maybe. Okay, so they're not up north, they're not in the middle, so they put all their tanks right onto the eastern side. They get control of that, which is very nice indeed. I think this is the right idea from PENTA. Double IS-3s in the middle to provide a lot of firepower and keep Kazna Crew at bay, stop them peeking against these lighter tanks.
Standard start to this round. Fluky in the dead zone are sort of more forward in terms of those lightweights here, and they're pushing up. So far, they've actually sustained no damage at all, and they've got those 3 tanks as well into that bottom corner of the map. Or the top, depending on where you're looking at it from. So this is a good start. PENTA getting the positions they wanted. And now Killer Pit and Messick, they're going to do the Eastney spot here. I think they liked what they saw, and they're going to go for it here as well. But one of the big downsides to that spot is that you have to roll out of it. But Alien on the LTTB is almost read into this one. He's blocking Killer Pit as much as he possibly can and trying to take him on head-to-head. In the meantime, Killer Pit is getting roasted from behind. 3 shots thudding into his weaker rear armor. And that's really got to hurt that IS-3 now. Alien happy to just troll him a little bit for the moment. See if he can put some shots through that heavy armor. He actually be able to kill that IS-3. Alien, if anyone could do it, he can. And that's a bit of BM. Alien will be chuckling to himself right now. That's a big tank off the table already for PENTA Sports.
I think PENTA Sports expected that they could actually do damage against Kazna Crew in the Eastern Village, but they couldn't. And Kazna just simply rolled forwards and did like 500-600 damage into the back of the IS-3, and that was enough. And then Alien could take him down. Very simple stuff, very dubious stuff from PENTA.
All right, well, now they're trying to respond here. PENTA trying to use their numbers to come towards FKK Schnitzel. He's in a very important tank right now, and he has to hold his ground at least for as long as he can. Raven takes a hit. Going to go straight towards him now as well. FKK very, very low. He will get one more shot off, but that is about it. Eurofish trying to contribute there from in between the 2 buildings, and LD Nexus and Vetso just setting up. It's a big push from PENTA. It's a big investment in towards his city. Will it pay off?
Well, Hyber is really trying to do some damage there, but he's out of the game right now. He needs to get in behind Penta, who at the moment have got control of that eastern village, and that's a very good thing when you're actually wanting to attack.
Backs up against the wall, Penta, but it's actually working out for them right now. They can't really be flanked so much from here. Elden Nex is getting pushed very heavily by Hacky in the dead zone, but New Multishow is the one to claim his scalp. 5 tanks still standing for Kazna crew. Hyber now chiming in with that LTTB, getting in position, forcing Raven to get on out and put himself in maybe more vulnerable spot here. Look at Hyber, he wants blood. Very aggressively coming towards Raven, and Raven hasn't even turned his head to look towards that threat. And that Hornet is going to turn into a Mack truck if he doesn't respond quickly.
That was a very bad play by New Multishow. He just blocked Raven there. Just don't know what he was doing at all. Now Raven in huge trouble.
Hyber's just going to come straight towards, and the Ram will be enough to finish the job here. And those health points were close for a little while. The Penta now really starting to lose out. They're struggling to maintain this hold on the game, and Isne is battling it out in the middle as well. He has a lot of tanks looking at him, and he's held on for this long. He also picks up the dead zone. Now Hyber and Eurofish, they're freed up from their previous engagements, and they're going to toddle down the street as well and deliver the finishing blow. Hyber's been so important on that LTTB so far. Really pivotal player, and he's getting it done. New Multishow has a full clip of autoloader shells, but he's got a lot of tanks looking right at him.
Oh, the biggest problem with New Multishow, I mean, really, it's just a one-man army, but for so long, he just hasn't provided the performances to make up for the fact that he's not a team player.
And the problem is as well, a good player like New Multishow will shine so much more in a team that's consistently performing well, in a strong team. Individually, there's no doubt about it. He's fantastic, but he needs his teammates behind him. And they weren't really in this case. You saw fairly standard setup, it's safe to say. And from there, things started to go a little bit haywire.
This is the biggest problem for me, you know. First of all, obviously, Killer Pit dying, that was just really bad in the RS3. They shouldn't have boosted up there. I know they needed to take down Elian, but then just switch around with the T-54 and commit onto that one. I think it was always going to be the fact that Killer Pit would die in that situation. I thought, you know, Penta going into the city was the right thing. You know, in Lakeville, when they were aggressive, they won the round. They managed to take down to 5100. They continued going well, but then Hyber got in the equation. It went a little bit worse for Penta, and it just slid from there on down. But I have to mention New Multishow again. I hate the fact that he's always the last one into a battle and the last one out as well. That's not the way you play World of Tanks these days.
This is where Killer Pit sort of realised what an epic mistake he'd made. And Elian all of a sudden realised he could actually win this engagement there. That shot from Killer Pit did take him low, but he managed to respond and pick him up here. Look, Penta were late to get in position. Right? It was a bit later because they went for the city first. They went for a really late push as well to get Killer Pit up into that spot. And Kazna read into that quite easily. Elian was able to get up in a position. He literally, because Killer Pit got to the top of that hill, he didn't have the momentum to push Elian off initially. Yeah,
the thing is, I mean, the LTTB, especially when it's dug down into a position like that, it's not so easy to push off. I mean, the IS-3 is heavy, but it's not that heavy, and the horsepower per ton ratio is not particularly good as well, so it's not a bulldoze over a tank. So it's very hard there for Killer Pit. I think if they had that tank alive, it would have been a different story. But Elian would have spotted that zero-line push, which would have been another problem. But I think Penta, they just need to be more aggressive into the city, a little bit more aggressive up into the middle, and not be so knee-jerk in many respects. And I think the individual play was also questionable. And, you know, just having taken too much damage, having lost a tier 8 tank in the city firefight, it was only a matter of time before Kazna crew, you know, regrouped, got themselves sorted, and flanked around.
I mean, well, there you have it, really. That's pretty well succinctly put. And obviously now, after our first map is finished, Lauren, our votes are closed, and we do have the community's take on this game. I mean, if you look at it ostensibly, it's definitely a Kazna crew landslide on the scoreboard. And it's starting to look like in the votes as well. 76% was the final closing vote number in their favour. And there's actually a very quick question I'm going to throw to you, Ollie, and Mitch, of course. The story in Twitch chat just said, Penta seems so static, so predictable on this map, they'll never be able to surprise Kazna. Do you actually think that's true after seeing the first round?
I think it's true. I think Penta in general, as I said, I think they're a bit too static, a bit too defensive, and I just don't see any flair right now. I think, you know, I hate to say it, but when I was watching them in the prelude to this season, they haven't progressed a whole lot. I mean, the thing is, when they played against ASAP and the Strong, they were very, very good going forwards, but they were playing against lesser teams. Against Kazna crew, against Supreme, you can't do that. That's really where you can't be that static. And I'll chime in on this one a little bit as well, having seen some of them. Penta are a team that value, when they look at their strategy, they have it all penned down really nicely, okay? We need to get into this position at this time. Yep. That's fine. But to win World of Tanks, especially consistently, you need to be able to react on the spot and make the correct decisions. And this is not a game where you can teleport across the map in half a second and be there. So even your on-the-fly decisions still need to be made a little bit
before the fact. And unfortunately, Penta, they get in a position, right? We saw it was a standard position. It was nice. It had all the bells and whistles. It was cute. But from there on in, this is the little mistakes started creeping in. It's a knee-jerk reaction to the decisions to go here or there. Really didn't seem to work out for them. But this is a chance, Ollie, for Penta to make amends again. I've said that before. They've got a little bit of catching up to do. Kazna on the precipice of taking this one away from them.
It always worries me when Penta just decides to go with 6 T54s. We saw that against Team Supreme as well. It didn't work out too well for them, and, you know, you have to see how it works out this time. One of the ways they did beat ASAP is by pushing up north, going for the overmatch, and clearly Kazna's worried about that.
This never works. This literally never works. I mean, even teams like Ding could just sit in the village with a heavy lineup, and Rocks pushed on them in our first play day, a second one, with a bunch of lightweights, and they just got completely repelled. It's like water breaking on rock. But Penta are going to try something here. They're going to work towards this middle road here. You can see the Dead Zone, Message, Raven HR, Killer. They've got a daisy chain. They're all holding hands, and they're all running into each other as well. Dead Zone and Raven obviously had a few different ideas, and they're very lucky to be able to pull out of this road without taking more damage. So just that one shot towards Raven. Yeah,
that was a good retraction there from Penta. They saw it wouldn't work out. You can see FKK Schnitzel has got a good angle onto where Hyber was. Of course, you know, Hyber was in the same position against ASAP, and it was really good from him. He managed to solo a couple of tanks, and I'm sure he would do the same against Penta. Now, Penta, you know, with the T54s, they're doing it right, rotating around the map, being very quick, being very dynamic. They just need to find the angle, and when they do, they need to go all in, but they do get spotted. Well, that was actually a blind shot. I don't think they get spotted, but I still think, you know, Kazna with the double IS3 and the 5100 up north, they're predicting that Penta's going to go for the northern overmatch, and that's where, you know, I think they are the weakest.
If Penta don't manage to make inroads on this push, they're going to be short on time again, and it's just not enough time for them to set up properly on the southern side of the map. So Hacky, who's trying to do some spotting of his own, try and maybe draw the eyes of Kazna crew away from the northern side of the map in preparation for this push. But there's no push from Penta yet. They're very slow about it. And Hacky, well, I mean, he's bluffing. He's basically bluffing. Kazna crew right now, like, do they dare push over on me? There could be other tanks with me, yada yada. It's not going to work out. Hyber is a little bit too canny for that, and he's going to take down Hacky.
Yeah, this is going to be really hard now for Penta to win. They got the bit of pressure there, but it was immediately cancelled out. The Dead Zone takes a lot of damage on the cross there by the IS3 and the 5100s as Penta is going for a last-ditch attempt.
Ely in a great spot to get the initial spots off Raven. Pneumoldiso, oh, it's carnage! And Kazna crew are the dealers of destruction and death in this case. Pneumoldiso is trying to push up, but he's down towards half health. Message gets hammered. Hyber even chiming in from the middle of the map as well. And this spearhead of Penta has shattered on the armor of Kazna crew's tanks.
Oh, they actually got absolutely wiped off the map. 3 tanks remaining, though, for Penta. 2 T54s, 3 T54s, but so much hit points on the side of Kazna crew. I don't see how Penta can win this game, as you'll see the whole of Kazna come trundling in.
This is not good enough from Penta if they want to beat a team like Kazna. One-dimensional as it gets. Sit in the town for a while, try something towards a middle road, and then just have our heads stomped in as we try and push for a northern cap. They had no information. Hacky was in a T37. He went to the cap and sat on it. He saw Hyber. He saw Hyber just before he killed him as well. And that is it. That is all that Penta really knew. They ran in. Honestly, they ran into a room in the dark full of spikes on the floor.
Exactly. I mean, Lego would have even worked as well. I mean, seriously. I think if Penta wanted to win that game, they had to keep their heads cool and just, you know, not go for that full T54 lineup. It just doesn't work against the IS3s, 5100s. Going up north wouldn't have worked either. I think the zero line would have been a better option, or maybe even just continuing that push across the middle, because the whole of Kazna crew was set up for a northern defensive move and a middle move as well, and that's exactly where Penta went, and it was just easy for Kazna crew to win.
And there's just really one real replay that we could look at here, and Penta, when it does come up, we can see them. They just push up. This is the push for them. This is
look how quickly Show dies.
They got wrecked. They literally get deleted from the map in a matter of seconds. This was their plan B, I guess, but their plan A was so flimsy. There was no setup, and they just run straight into this one. It was a Hail Mary. And against Kazna crew, the European champions, 4th place at the grand finals. Why?
I have no idea. But the thing is, I guess, if they have one excuse, they were already 4-1 down. You know, like, it's all... it's almost always going to be game over at that point, unless it's like Virtus Pro when you come back from the same situation and, you know, beat Tornado Rocks. But it very rarely happens, and I think Penta at that point were, you know, so mentally down after that mistake on the previous round where Killer Pit died. You saw New Multi-Show blocking his own teammates, you know, being the 100% HP with AMX39 with 6 shells left in the autoloader at the end, alive on his own. That kind of stuff gets on your nerves,
sure.
And I think it was just wit's end for Penta Sports.
I mean, we saw the same sort of capitulation from No Mercy in our last few games. It's sad to see Penta go like this as well, but I think it's important because Penta are a team that have fluctuated a lot over this season, and I think, and it's, I don't want to be negative about it, but their true colours are starting to shine through. What they are capable of and what they aren't capable of is really starting to become apparent to us. We look at their lineup, we see these players, we see these well-respected veterans of the scene, but the changes they made from last season clearly haven't helped them too much. A team like Kazna is always going to be strong. They've probably had the least lineup changes out of any team in the league. Far too strong.
Yeah, I think Kazna Crew are even stronger than they were last season. The only big change is that Ruster, who ironically also left Penta to go to Kazna Crew, is now just left the league because FKK Schnitzel seem to have taken his spot. But that's just making your team stronger. I mean, FKK, if he needed anything in Wusa, it was direction, it was motivation, because the guy is just a little bit sitting back on his laurels continuously. Yeah. But now he seems to have some real ability and some real motivation behind him. He's only making that team that much better.
All right, we've got to attribute that to Hyber, of course, captain and caller for that team. Lauren, that's it, done and dusted. Obviously, we already talked about the vote. That's in the past, but Kazna Crew, to their fans, definitely not surprising them at all.
No, it was a walk in the park to the fans. They never seemed to doubt it for a second. You could have occasionally looked at people, you know, saying, but there's, you know, new multi-show there. There's players of bigger caliber. And then you had the answer straight back going, well, he's great as an individual. I don't know what he's brought for the team. It's, you know, I love the way that the audience is truly understanding how these players are starting to work as a team dynamic and the flaws with Penta, the benefits with Kazna, and so far it's keeping the votes very one-sided. But I think the next game's going to be almost along that sort of same feeling to it. It's a little bit of a tough one coming up. If anyone's against Team Supreme, it's going to be a tough game. But still, you guys at home have the absolutely brilliant opportunity as we speak to go over to Facebook and get your votes through to us and just get them done. Facebook.com/WGLEU, and it gets you a chance to get some gold. And if you want to be more involved with the show, head over to Twitter. Use the hashtag WGLEU. Let us know your thoughts on the game so far. Let us know your thoughts on Mitch's hair. Anything. It doesn't really matter. Just be creative. Or Ollie, and it's like for tutus. Metal shields. There's varying things you can select from.
Tutus, isn't that a kind of wig?
It's a dress you wear to dance.
Is it? You?
Yes.
Sorry, I don't know what tutu.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure I saw you on Saturday night, but maybe that's another story.
As soon as Lauren mentions my hair, maybe I was thinking of wig. I don't know.
I didn't even mention your hair. It's receding so much. I thought it'd be a bit harsh. Anyway, guys, I'm going to run away to the break because I'm about to get chased down by this man. So, guys, I'll catch you after the very short break.